Morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. There's Bugsy Malone, doing the things that she does. I hope you're doing the things that you love to do. Please do me a favour, guys. Like the video for me, like you always do. Hit the subscribe for me on the channel if you haven't already. We're just a few souls away now from 11,900 subscribers. I really appreciate any help in that regard. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic. Let's get started, shall we? We're going to start with the transfer news, views and clues regarding incomings. And today, all of the aggregators are jumping on a report from The Sun and the Daily Mail. So, listen, I don't know whether this is... I mean, when it comes from The Sun, you usually give it a tier 15. When it comes to the Daily Mail, they're usually a little bit better, depending on who it is that's writing the article. And I didn't see who it was that was writing it. If it's Sammy Mockbell and he throws the word could in front of anything, then anything is plausible, but usually doesn't happen. We'll talk about it just on a feasibility perspective, because I think it's quite an interesting one. Tottenham are interested and joining the race with Newcastle United to sign Crystal Palace sensation, the 27-year-old Danish international JOACHIM Andersen. Look, I'm a massive fan of the player. Let me start by saying that. Of the two centre-backs at Palace, him or Mark Guehi, I don't think either of them are worth £50 million for what it's worth, but I would say that Andersen is a far more interesting player to me. He is right-footed, but does play on the left. It's not a perfect fit. We've spoken ad nauseum on this channel about the need for balance. When you have a left-footed player playing on the left-hand side, it allows them to open their body up and, I guess, become less predictable with where you're going to go. Makes it more difficult for the opposition teams to kind of predict or to assume where you're going to pass the ball, because your body's more open. Players like Tapsoba, whilst they are right-footed, they receive the ball with very much an open body, and so it's not such a problem to have a right foot in the left. Andersen is similar in that vein. He's quite clever with the way that he receives the ball and the way that he takes the ball forward. To the point where I wouldn't even necessarily say that he's dominant-footed, because I think he is very capable on his left, but you wouldn't go as far as to call him ambipedal. £50 million though. Look, Crystal Palace are in no need to rush. They don't need to raise money as far as I'm aware. Could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that they are doing okay financially. And why would they necessarily want to go and help out two of their Premier League rivals? Where the story gets a little bit off kilter for me is the fact that the article is based on the premise that Tottenham are competing with Newcastle for them. When I think it was only yesterday that Eddie Howe came out and said, we're not close to any particular deals. We don't have a large budget. We're very strict on our budget this summer. And so we're going to have to get creative. I wouldn't have thought that he would say that if he had, 50 million plus in the transfer bucket to put towards one player. I mean, to be entirely honest, I'm not over the top informed on Newcastle's financial situation. People always just assume that because they're owned by Saudi Arabia that they can do what they want. But of course, that's not the case. The FFP rules are what they are to try to curtail that scenario. And it's not the first time I've heard that Newcastle have already pushed their kind of boundaries over the last 18 months since they've come in with regards their FFP situation. So maybe there is truth to it, and maybe Newcastle need to sell to raise. In any event, do we see them really spending 50 million on Andersen? I don't know. Possibly, possibly not. Yeah, I don't think so. And with Andersen playing on the left, isn't that where Sven Botman plays? If I were them, I'd be looking for someone to upgrade, or maybe on Fabian Schär, which, again, unless I'm mistaken, he plays on the right of the four. Let's put that to one side and work out whether or not Tottenham would spend 50 million on him. If there's truth to it, then it probably means that we are on either one of two scenarios. We're either giving up on one of or both Tapsoba and Van der Ven. If 50 million is the correct valuation and the correct price, then I would imagine that would be Tapsoba that is being ruled out. Look, I really like Andersen, but for me, again, £50 million for him, I think it's punchy. 35 million, I think he's fine, but Crystal Palace won't necessarily want to deal with Tottenham. Why would they? I'd like him to come in. If he does come in, he wouldn't excite me as much as Tapsoba, and if the valuation is of a similar level, then certainly not. If it's to replace Van der Ven, and we still have enough money to go after both, then I'm all for it. But where would that money be coming from? Would there be an assumption that Harry Kane money is coming in? We spoke about this yesterday, guys. All the noise with regards Ramos from Benfica. Is that just a nonsense article, or is it based in some element of truth that Tottenham are looking for replacements, looking for the feasibility, asking questions of the agents, super agent George Mendes, around the feasibility of signing someone like Ramos in the eventuality that Harry Kane leaves? And after we did yesterday's video, you know, I want to read out some quotes from this guy. I'm sure you've seen them already, but the acting or the honorary CEO or the honorary president, Uli Hoeneß, clarifies their position on Harry Kane deal to the German press, and he said things such as, Kane has very clearly signalled that his decision was made. If he keeps his word, we will sign Harry. Tottenham will have to give up, but we've got to get the asking price from Daniel Levy soon. Kane now wants to play in European competitions. Tottenham won't be there next season. Bayern, yes. What we really liked about Kane is his agents, his father, his brother. They're very pleasant, good people. So far, Kane's camp always stood by their promise. If that stays the case, then this move will be okay. Kane has another chance to join a top European club like Bayern to compete in European football. First and foremost on this, I'm not going to spend too long talking about it because I'm sick to death of talking about it, but first and foremost, this guy clearly doesn't really have an understanding of Daniel Levy. If he thinks that sort of behaviour, talking to the German press about another team's player, is okay and is going to somehow manipulate the situation to their leverage, to their advantage, then I think he needs to go back to the drawing board, because Daniel Levy will be put off and will become more entrenched and stubborn and stick his feet into the sand on this one because of things like this. Whereas maybe if there wasn't that sort of stuff happening, maybe he'd be more willing to go in good faith. But this isn't good faith behaviour, in my opinion. Second thing I'd say is, I wasn't aware of this yesterday, but Bayern Munich were furious with Xavi, the Barcelona man, when he was talking about how much he appreciates, just said appreciates, nothing more, Bayern's player Kimmich. So again, I've spoken about this before, the kind of duplicity, the hypocrisy of behaviour amongst Premier League clubs. When we first reported last week that Daniel Levy was furious with Bayern Munich for talking in the press about Harry Kane, and for meeting Harry Kane and his brother and all that in London, in a London hotel, and apparently Daniel Levy was absolutely apoplectic about it. And I was saying, well, didn't exactly the same thing happen with Mickey van der Ven and his agents coming over from Wolfsburg? And the only difference, the only thing that would make one okay and the other not okay, is permission from the clubs. But absent the knowledge on whether that took place, it's hypocritical of Daniel Levy to say that it's okay for him to do it, but not okay for someone else. But yet again, in this scenario, it's hypocritical of Bayern Munich to be upset with Barcelona for just talking about the appreciation of a player in Kimmich, whereas at the same time, those guys come over and actually meet with Harry Kane and his brother, and at the same time talk to the German press every chance they get. I mean, don't really know how to feel about it. Everyone is a hypocrite in life, I know that. But the hypocrisy and the duplicity in this situation seems to have no end. The only other part I'd like to talk about with this Harry Kane thing is reading between the lines a little bit on this one. When he says Kane has very clearly signalled that his decision was made. If he keeps his word, we will sign Harry Kane. Tottenham will have to give up. They will have to buckle. What does that mean? If he keeps his word, Tottenham will have to give up. Like, is that insinuating that part of that promise, part of that word that he's given, is for Harry Kane to manufacture a scenario where keeping Harry Kane would be illogical, irrational, and silly? And by that, do I mean not just the threat of, if you don't sell me this summer, I'm leaving for free next, but something a little bit more sinister, a little bit more nefarious, to the tune of maybe, listen, if you don't let me go, then, you know, is there going to be a metaphorical downing of tools? And therefore, Daniel Levy's leverage is taken away, even from the idea of, well, unless a bid comes in for 70 million or more, then anything less than that, you might as well roll the dice and see if you can qualify for the Champions League with a 30-goal a season Harry Kane, because you'll make the difference up in the Champions League campaign, prize money and the TV revenues. I'm not suggesting that Harry Kane would do this or has said this or Charlie Kane has. I'm just speculating, positing to you guys. Let me know your thoughts. Does that kind of, that narrative of Tottenham will have to give him up, will have to buckle if Harry Kane keeps his word, what did he say he would do? I don't know. I don't know. The only other thing I'd like to get off my chest today, guys, I'll keep this one last little bit of speculation, moving away from Harry Kane, because I'm sick to death of the story. I want it done one way or the other very quickly, and it's driving me mad. The only other story I want to talk about is, I don't know if you guys saw last night, but Pape Sarr has signed agency terms with CAA Base, who is a UK-based, you know, celebrity, sports star, whatever, football agency, an agency that looks after their best interests. If you look at the list of people that actually work for CAA, or that are managed or represented by CAA Base on Transfer Market, you will see, basically, of the top 6 or 7 players that are represented by Transfer Market value, 5 of them are Tottenham players. I'm pretty sure, from memory, that James Maddison is, Heung-min Son is, Pedro Porro is, Pape Matar Sarr is, I think, I could be wrong on this, but I think Højbjerg might be as well, and I believe even Ange Postecoglou is. And the reason why I bring it up is because I was looking to see who managed, or who is the agent of Joachim Andersen, and it said that it's CAA Stella. It was just, I don't know if they are the same, because the CAA thing, if it's like an offshoot of part of a group called CAA, or whether they're completely different entities. But when I then went and looked and saw that Andersen is done by CAA, so there's no, or CAA Stella, so there's no natural necessary connection there. But then I went back and looked at who are the CAA Base representatives, and you'll never guess who of the 2 people that are not managed, or that are not playing for Tottenham in their top 7 player profiles. One of them plays for PSG, whose name escapes me right now. But the other one is Bremmer. And I don't know whether or not that is worthwhile information to know, because it brings me back to this idea of, if we are losing out on one or both of Van der Ven and Tapsoba, and we're now being linked with Andersen, who might have a valuation of 50, but we have been linked significantly over the last couple of weeks with Bremmer, but those links are usually because of the fact that Tottenham were interested in him a year ago. He plays for Juve, who need money. Juve and Tottenham have got a relationship because of Paratici, and we've got recent history doing deals with the likes of Kulusevski and Bentancur. Then is that additional piece of information that the vast majority of CAA Base's clients happen to play for Tottenham? Is there any additional juice in that story now that would suggest that maybe, just maybe, if Tapsoba and or Van der Ven falls apart as a transfer and we have to go in a different direction, is Bremmer going to be the player that comes to Tottenham because of the ease of getting the deal done, knowing that CAA Base represent many parties within that whole relationship? Don't know, guys. I'm not saying it from a source. I'm just saying it from a 2 and 2 and getting 4 point something. Guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. I will hope that you finish your day in a very good mood. Hi, guys. How you doing? Enjoy your Sunday. Let me know your thoughts on Harry Kane, reading between the lines. Let me know your thoughts on Joachim Andersen. Are you a fan of his? I am. Let me know your thoughts on whether or not CAA base might be the connection that gets someone like Bremmer over the line. And if that's the case, how do you feel about him? I personally think he is a wonderful player. I personally think he will be able to adapt to a specific role that is asked of him in a different system to what he's used to playing. But I do have reservations because I've only ever seen him play in pragmatic systems in the middle of a back three, and he would be asked to do something very different under an Ange Postecoglou system. Like, subscribe and comment, guys. And as always, bye-bye.